Hello, my gods and goddesses, and today I'm going to be talking about things they do not teach you about Black history. Uh, the things I'm going to be talking about are very, very disturbing, so if you guys do not want to listen to this, please keep scrolling, go to another video of mine. You can go to another video underneath, but this is going to get graphic. The term Negro Bedwench was used to describe a black woman who was enslaved that was forced to have sex with her white slave master back in those days. And it didn't matter how old she was. She could be 12, 30, 25, 40. It did not matter how old they were. And it was very disgusting that my great-great-grandmothers went through that, and in rare cases there were times where they would get certain privileges and like staying in the house or like wear like decent clothes and all this other stuff like jewelry and stuff, but those were short-lived. But I don't want to sit up here and say was all cases, because 9 times out of 10 it wasn't all the cases. It was not all of those cases. It wasn't. It was not. And now in modern day and age, bedwench is used to insult or degrade black women who don't date anyone that isn't black. It's used to describe black women who date or marry anybody that's not within their race, and it's very insulting, in my opinion, to call any black woman a bedwench for dating or marrying outside of her race. As long as she's not degrading black people, I don't see what the issue is. People do not need to be using bedwench to describe black women who date out or marry out, because one, you're using it in the incorrect term. You're using it incorrectly, and it's insulting. It really is. And if they don't see how insulting it is, they just don't know. And when the black women were raped, mixed kids will be born out of it, and which is why they created colorism. That's how colorism was born as well. I could do a whole video on that in a later date. And also, there is another thing they don't teach you about black history, is that they used to take black children and black babies during slavery and use them as alligator bait. That's one thing they do not teach you in school. I've learned this after I got out of high school. I never knew this. They used they used black kids and black babies during slavery as alligator bait. And what's the sick part is that they would literally pay people like to buy the kids and babies, and they would toss these babies and kids into the water and watch them getting ripped apart, which is very sick. And there's another thing that they do not teach you about black history. Did you know about the actual term picnic? It was actually called pick a N-word. It was called pick a N-word back in those days. And basically, picnic back then was basically where they would be having a picnic around a bunch of dead slaves hanging from trees. So much as they were like sitting down and taking pictures with them. There are old pictures, guys, of people taking pictures with dead enslaved black people. Some of them were hanging from trees. Some of them, they had them propped up and smiling and taking pictures. It was sick. It was very sick. And there's another fact about they didn't teach you about black history. So all these facts, they're going to be condensed in to one video. Because I could literally take want all these topics and make them one individually. I mean, if you guys wanted me to talk about each of these topics individually, I will do that. But I'm just putting them all into one video. One thing they do not teach you about Black history is that, you guys ever wondered why there were brown boots back in the day? Because most leather boots were black. The real reason why some leather boots were brown is because they used to, after they would kill the enslaved black person, they would take their skin and use it as leather and oil. Yeah, they did a lot of horrendous and disturbing things to black people back in slavery times. They literally took the skin of enslaved black people and used it as leather and oil. That was probably one of the most disturbing facts I've looked up and read about. It's highly disturbing that was just so normalized and was so disgusting back then. It really just makes you wonder, like, those were not humans. That was beyond human. That was demonic behavior. They put, like, I'm sorry, like, our ancestors went through a lot. That was demonic behavior. That was not normal. It was disgusting. It really was. Oh, and there is one thing they do not teach you about Black history. You guys know about George Washington. You guys know about that sick bastard that basically married his daughter, his biracial daughter. Yes, his wife is actually his daughter, his biracial daughter, white passing biracial daughter. But I'm gonna make a whole video about George Washington and just how disgusting he was. George Washington was not a good person at all. I don't know why schools try to make it seem like George Washington was just this good person. He was not a good person. Despite that letter he wrote all those years ago saying that how slavery was wrong, he still kept slaves. He still kept them. And when he died, he owned over 370 slaves. So, no, George was not a good person at all. He was a trash bag. He was a pedo. He was a rapist. And yeah. So George, he can go kick rocks and burn slowly. That's how I feel. You guys have ever been told that George Washington's teeth was made out of wood because he didn't have any actual teeth? Have you guys been told that his dentures were actually made out of wood? Newsflash, his dentures were not made out of wood. They were not made out of wood at all. If you got a different answer back in school, I heard that his stuff was made out of wood. No, George Washington's teeth was actually from black enslaved teeth. So his dentures were actually from enslaved black people. It's disgusting. So anyway, guys, those are the facts of things they don't teach you in Black history. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next video. Later, my gods and goddesses, and have a wonderful day.